Well, welcome back. This is Juli Baranik, host of the Seven Figure Builder Show, and I'm here with my friends Kyle and Ariel. Hey, guys.
Hi,
Hey,
thanks for having us, Julie.
yeah, Julie, this is going to be a fun
Absolutely.
conversation.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I'm so excited to have you guys on. You've done amazing things, but tell a little bit about the audience of what it is that you do and what you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so today we own a company called Couplepreneurs, which is a mentorship company that helps entrepreneur couples, whether they're in business together or they own separate
Yeah.
businesses. We essentially help them grow and scale businesses without growing apart in the process. This was a need that we didn't even know we needed earlier on in our marriage when we both had, thriving businesses, but we recognized very quickly that even if you have thriving businesses, it doesn't mean that you also have a thriving relationship. Sometimes the thriving businesses can
Yeah.
come at the sacrifice of your relationship. And we got into a pretty dark place where we just had to figure out
Yeah.
how do you navigate being two entrepreneurial driven people that also share a bedroom together. And once we figured out the hard way and we applied it towards our marriage, not only did our intimacy go up,
Yeah.
not only did our income go up, but it ended up propelling us to the spotlight of helping so many other entrepreneur power couples around the world on how to grow and scale
Yeah.
without growing apart in the process. So that's really why we're passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you would add to that?
No, I think you hit it all.
Boom, there it is.
I love it. And it's so needed because, as we all know, like when you're working hard at your business, you're trying to grow something, you have this passion inside. It's
Yeah.
easy to be stuck on your laptop or like
Yes.
heads down
Yes.
trying to get something done. And share with us, like, what do you recommend for those couples that hear this and they're like, my God, I so need that. And I experience that every day in my life.
Mm.
Absolutely. Well, after at this point talking to thousands of
Yeah.
entrepreneur couples, because we created a Facebook community, we invited a bunch of men. After having so many conversations, we realized that the unique challenges we were experiencing were actually not as unique as we thought. We thought we
Yes.
were the only couple on earth that was wondering, how in the world do you stop thinking about work at night and on the weekends when you want to be
Yeah.
present with your significant other? How do you decide what to invest in next in your business, be it a marketing strategy or financial investments,
Yeah.
or even where to go to date night, and when you are on date night, how can you actually connect as a romantic
Yeah.
couple versus just talking to each other as business partners? We were experiencing all these different things, and there was a lot of different things that we did, but I will tell you that for us and the majority of our
Yeah.
clients, when couples can get aligned on four key areas in their life and business, that's where everything shifts.
Yeah.
The first key area is your vision,
Yeah.
meaning between you and your partner, when you come together and you think about the lifestyle that you want to co-create together, what comes to mind for you? When you can get a
Yeah.
crystal clear vision of what that unified vision looks like, that essentially dictates every decision that you make in life and business. Because, Julie, as you know, we don't want to build a business at the sacrifice of our lifestyle.
Yeah.
We want to build a business that supports and actually accelerates our lifestyle.
Yeah.
So once we have a clear picture of what that unified vision is between us as a couple, then we get to go to the second piece, which is goals. When we have a
Yeah.
unified vision, we then have to decide between us as a couple, what are those measurable
Yeah.
milestones and those goals that actually show us we are making progress towards making that vision a reality. This is essentially where we get to decide how much money is it going to take in
Yeah.
business for us to make our vision a reality. And if that is the revenue amount that we need to make in business, what are the strategic steps and milestones along the path in order for us to accomplish that?
Yeah.
Once we get very clear on our goals, that takes us to number three, which is the strategy.
Yeah.
And essentially, Ariel and I, because we've been in the digital marketing world for over a decade, we know just as well as you do, Julie, that there are a million different strategies for growing and scaling a business. Like there's so many different ones. But what we found is that when we could take what works in the marketplace and combine that with the unique way that
Yeah.
a couple works in business, that overlap is what allows them to choose a strategy that accomplishes their goals faster than ever before. And then once you get to that point, once you're as a couple aligned on your vision, your goals, your
Yep.
strategy, that takes us to the fourth and final step, which is the roles, which is actually a
Yeah.
byproduct of those first three things. And what I mean by roles is between me and my significant other, what are we doing, right? Like in the business, in the
Yeah.
household, what are we doing? And this used to be a huge point of tension for Ariel and I because we both had businesses, we both were doing a lot of different things,
Yeah.
and we didn't know who was responsible for what. But once you were aligned on your vision, your goals, and your strategy, the roles kind of come as a byproduct. And specifically for us, we've noticed that when we can divvy up roles, not just by department, not
Yeah.
just by strengths and weaknesses, but by the unique ways that we are energetically gifted and wired to work, that is when the magic happens and when we can unleash so much productivity as a couple.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And how do you find once you've established all that, which is a lot, but how do
Yeah.
you find
Oh,
that you continue on that path forward? Like, do you recommend regular checkpoints, regular going over the finances? Like, what do you find works best?
Yeah, so I would say there's two main checkpoints that we recommend couples in business have together. So the first is like a weekly priorities meeting. That weekly priorities meeting is really dedicated to looking down the pipeline, so to speak, of the week and seeing kind of what's coming your way and determining again who's doing what, are we on the same page, things like that. So this could be as simple as, okay, we have these appointments this week at these times. This is what the goal for the business is this week. This is, the different meetings that we have. It's just kind of like looking down through the calendar and getting aligned on each and every piece throughout the week. So that's the first part. Now, with that, as there are things that can come up. And once one thing comes up in life or in the business, it can be like a domino effect, right? Where it kind of like takes everything with it. So then we do a daily check-in meeting. That daily check-in meeting is designed to really be like that quick little 5 to 10 minute checkpoint for couples to come together and say, okay, today, this is what we had on the docket. Is that still accurate? Or did anything change? Do we need to adjust anything? Things like that.
Absolutely. And as you're navigating through the course of your day, the course of your week, what do you guys find works best as far as, we'll say, boundaries, right? Like boundaries from life coming into what you're trying to accomplish, boundaries for just staying focused. Like, what is that balance that you guys like?
Yeah. You want to start that?
Absolutely. So I'm so glad you brought this up because
Yeah.
so many couples that come to work with us inside our coaching program come to us with that question, which is how in the world do we separate our work life from our romantic life, from our family life,
Yep.
and from even our personal life, like the things that we care about. These are 4 different types of lives that we have to live in one person. And for us, I'll tell you a couple of things that have been really helpful and also have been helpful for many of our clients.
Yeah.
Number one, we have to actually create the space for all 4 of those categories. And what I mean by creating the space is coming together as a couple, looking at our calendar, looking at our schedule, and deciding when does work start and when does work stop? When does romance time start and when does romance time start? When does family time start and when does family time stop?
Yeah.
And it sounds a little like over intentional at first, but I can tell you after interviewing even, entrepreneur couples that do 8 figures in business and above, the one core theme of every single successful couple we know is they are hyper intentional with how they choose to use their time. So I would say this first step is to really just create space on the calendar for all of those things. Step 2, as you said, is to create boundaries around those things.
Yes.
And what I mean by boundaries is just lovingly communicating to other people in your life, be it other family members, maybe some in-laws, maybe some clients, people who you might feel have a revolving door access to your time and your energy. What we need to do is we need to lovingly communicate as a couple, as a unified front. Yeah. This is when we're working, this is when we're available, and this is when we're not available.
Yeah, because typically when we put boundaries in place, the easiest way for us to not stick to what we say we're going to do is for us to push those boundaries and oftentimes for other people to push those boundaries. And a boundary isn't a boundary unless it's communicated to other people around you.
Yeah. In this 3-step process, once you have the time set, and then also number 2, once you have the boundaries communicated, I would say the 3rd step is to intentionally put transition triggers in between each type of lifestyle that you want to live. So for example, when everyone listening, you probably know that when you're head down, working all day, checking off the to-do list, your mind is so focused on the emails that you want to respond to, the team members you want to connect with, the money that you want to move around, the investments that you're making, all of these things that basically make up what we call work mode. But how in the world do you go from work mode to then, closing down the laptop, getting out of the office and going on a date with your significant other?
Emotional, flirty, it's a little different.
Very, very different. So what we've learned to do is create these very specific techniques that allow us to transition our minds and our bodies from work mode into romance mode. And it didn't happen overnight, but over time, what we've learned is how to turn on and turn off work mode on command, to where essentially when we go on a date, we're 100% present with each other and we respect the time that we're given.
Yeah. We always say to be where your feet are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are some of those techniques that you guys have found, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's quite a lot. I'll share 3 that are very, very powerful. And they're actually relatively simple. Number 1, one of the easiest things that everybody could do is to just simply change what they're wearing and change their appearance when they're going from one mode to the next. And this is just based on, human psychology. When we see based on what we see that triggers a stimulus and a response in our mind. And then, if we're looking at our significant other all day as our business partner, just by Ariel putting on a pair of heels for whatever reason shifts my mind away from thinking about
We're
her
not working
as
anymore.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
The work is over, right? So that's something very simple that anybody could do. Now, I'll tell you some things that we do that we have never heard anybody else talk about before. Another one is what we call the treasure hunt.
Yes.
The treasure hunt. This is a technique we've developed, and essentially, what this looks like is when you go on a date, or whenever you want to be present with your significant other, and you're sitting across for them, and you're talking. You want to make it your goal to find out something about them that you did not know about prior to that moment. So what I did when I started, learning how to do this, I went on a date with Ariel and I started asking, hey, what were some of your favorite childhood memories? What were some things about your past that I don't know about you? What are some bucket list items that you want to accomplish in your life that I don't know about? Basically,
what are some pet peeves?
Yeah.
Just things like that.
Yeah. And basically, when you find out the fact about your partner that you did not know about, that is the equivalent of you, quote unquote, finding the treasure. So the very first time I did this, I was like, okay, there's no way that I don't know something about Ariel. I've been with her for, over a decade. We're with each other all the time. There's no way there's something about her that I don't know. And I was wrong. Because on that date night, the very first time I tried this, I found out, wow, Ariel's a Britney Spears fan.
Was a Britney Spears fan.
When she was a girl. And I was like,
Guilty pleasures.
And I know that, and I know that's kind of silly, but for that told me, okay, if I didn't know that about her, what else do I not know about her?
Yeah.
And fast forward to today when we have, live events with entrepreneur couples in the room with us, and we have couples like do these workshops and exercises together.
Yeah.
we'll have people raise their hands and say, okay, everybody who here figured out something about their partner that they did not know before, and everybody raises their hand, even if they've been with their partner for 20 to 30 years. Now, why this works is because as entrepreneurs, we are leveraging our natural brain's capacity for curiosity and channeling that curiosity towards our partner. Because at that same event, when we ask everybody, okay, when you were talking to your partner, how many of you were thinking about work? Everyone said, no.
Yeah.
None of us. You can't think about work when you shift the focus. So those are two things that have been really helpful for us. Is there any other ones you wanted to share?
The other one is a really simple one that anybody can do when they're like kind of transitioning into date night, or again, time on the weekends with each other, time in the evenings. And we call it nostalgic transitions. So nostalgic transitions is really based on the concept that your brain can't always tell the difference between what you're experiencing in the moment and what you are actually visualizing or seeing in front of you. So for example, you can look at photos or videos of past memories where you felt an incredible emotion, whether it was joy, happiness, excitement, love, whatever it is. And you can actually start to tap into those same emotions that you were feeling in that particular memory. So when we say nostalgic transitions, one of the things that Kyle and I will do is before going on a date night, we will review videos from past date nights or a video from our wedding night, things like that, to just kind of prime our minds to be in that more emotional state and to experience those emotions before we even go on the date night itself.
I love that. And, we talked about how to shift our focus, but along with that, what do you recommend for just being present in the moment, right? Which is along with where you're pointing the focus, but I feel like there's more internally that we need to do sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a really strange way that I do this. I thought it was really strange. And then apparently Gary V does this as well. So me and Gary V.
Not so strange.
Yeah. I will remind myself that at some point in our lives, one of us is going to die before the other.
Yeah.
And I know that might, it sounds morbid because it is, right? But for whatever reason, that mind frame allows me to be present because I know, okay, just, logically speaking, at some point, either Ariel or I will die before the other partner. And at that point, here's what I know without a shadow of a doubt. Whoever is left alive is going to wish that they were more present with their partner with the time that they have. So if we already know we're going to have that feeling, why not leverage the gift of the present moment that we have right now as the gift that it is? Yeah. So that for me is the fastest way to shock my mind back into presence. Yeah. I know it might be a little, not conventional, but it's helpful for me.
Yeah, I'll add one to that, which is I think helpful, especially for entrepreneurs, and especially women, maybe, because I think we tend to multitask a lot and our brains tend to be focused on, again, tasks and responsibilities, where when we want to be present, that typically requires us to tap into emotion versus just logic, or what I would call task mode, right? So to do that, one of the things that I found helpful is to just really kind of like, it's basically mindfulness, right? It's just being present and being in tune with the different senses. So if I want to be very present and I need to like turn off my brain a little bit and actually kind of like feel again, which is a wild concept sometimes, I'll actually start to like feel like the air on my skin and like feel like the weight of like the chair that I'm sitting in and just things like that to actually kind of like tune back into my body versus always just operating from my mind, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, it does. And as you're tuning into the different senses, it kind of refocuses you back to what else
Yes.
is, are you experiencing and who are you with and all of that. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. And uh my mind went totally blank.
You were just
The
so
magic,
present that
I was the magic of editing. Um, oh my God, my mind went totally blank. I totally lost it. That's okay.
no worries.
Yes. So as you guys are working through your business and you come to points where, say, you have a disagreement or something like that, what do you find helps you get back on the same page?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a real life example just to kind of share with the audience how we actually navigated a real life business disagreement and how
Yes.
we came away from that disagreement, not only on the same page, but without any sort of tension, stress, or conflict with each other.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, I had this wild, crazy idea that I was really excited about. And that wild, crazy idea was to launch a very high ticket mastermind for our couplepreneurs business. And even though we get the opportunity to teach and coach couples all the time, we still are going through this ourselves. Like we still, we walk the walk, we practice everything we preach. In fact, we don't share anything outside of
Yeah.
what we've experienced and proven to be true. And we got the opportunity to test out a framework that we teach other couples on how to navigate disagreements. And here's how it worked. When I came to Ariel with my grand mastermind idea, she said, "Hey, I don't think I don't agree with that right now. I don't think that's right for right now." So when we're in that heat of disagreement, which happens to all of us,
Yes.
there's going to be an instant knee-jerk reaction that you might feel in your gut to want to like defend yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And because when even though Ariel says I don't agree, what I hear is I'm stupid, I'm wrong, my idea sucks, maybe there's not bad. Like
Your experience is incredible.
maybe my experience is incredible, or she just doesn't see it the way that I do. Like we get defensive over our own thoughts and opinions. That's why step one is to diffuse our defensiveness. And what this practically looks like is knowing that there's going to be a natural reaction of defensiveness that comes up when somebody disagrees with you, and just allowing yourself to feel that in your body, but let it go and not react accordingly.
Yeah.
Step two is to define your partner's perspective. And this is what it looked like for me. So I go, okay, Ariel, I hear you. I'm not being defensive. What I hear you saying is that you think this idea is stupid. And then she says, no, that's actually not at all what I was saying.
I was like, no, I don't think it's stupid. I just think it's the right idea, but the wrong timing.
And that's why defining your partner's perspective
Yes.
is so important, because most of the time what they're saying to you is being received differently to
Yes.
you than how they meant it. Which leads us to step three. Let's say we get to that point and we still don't agree on what to do. Step three is to determine between the two of us which partner has more relevant data to make the decision at hand.
Yeah.
Now, both Ariel and I have had a lot of marketing experience. I was a fractional CMO for a lot of different eight-figure companies who we've grown and scaled by multiple millions of dollars. Ariel was an organic marketing coach that helped a lot of women start and grow businesses from home using no paid media at all and grow to six figures and beyond. So we had marketing experience, but from completely two different lenses.
Yep.
And even though we were both kind of experts in the space, what we found out is that my idea of launching a mastermind based on where the business was actually not as relevant to the data that Ariel had, because Ariel had more data relevant to us being in the startup phase and what is required to go from six figures to seven and seven beyond. Whereas I more came from the space of maximizing seven-figure and eight-figure companies. And when you're at that level, a really easy way to just maximize profits without much overhead is to launch something like a mastermind for 50 grand.
Yeah.
That can be done. But at the time of our discussion and our disagreement, I had to kind of admit, all right, Ariel, your experience is actually more relevant. But we don't stop there, because most of the time there's still going to be a little bit of doubt in your mind of like, are we sure that this decision is the right one? That's why we go to step 4, which is to discuss with a third party, an objective third party. Now, the reason why we coach so many couples at this point is because the couples who come to us get to hear Ariel's perspective and my perspective, which are both of our perspectives are completely objective based on the situation that we are coaching people through, because we're not going to take any partner's side. And whether it's us or another coach or a mentor or a counselor, I believe that every couple needs somebody that they can take things to, who can give them objective feedback based on objective real life experience. What I mean by objective is they're not going to take one person's side or the other. So these are not your gal pals. These are not your homies, your bros,
sister.
Like, these are not people that are gonna be like, yeah, you're right, she's wrong. No, we need to be objective. We actually call our coaches the tiebreaker for that reason. Because usually
exactly.
And then once we get to that step, we have a pretty good idea of which decision we should go with. And the 5th and final step from there then is to just simply make a decision. Now, I use that term specifically because the word decide comes from the prefix de, which means of or from, and side, which means to cut. So when you are making a decision, you are cutting yourself off of any other choice, and you are deciding to stay fully committed towards that action. And for couplepreneurs, what that specifically means is that, okay, Ariel, I hear you. Our coaches agree with you. You have more relevant data. I maybe this is the right idea for the wrong time. So we're going to decide to do something else. And when we make that decision, here's what we were committing to. She is not going to come back later on and say, hey, told you I was right. And I am not going to come back later on and say, Ariel, I told you we should have done something different. Why didn't we go the other direction? You never listened to me. When we are just making that final decision, we are cutting ourselves off of any other conflict, any other options, and we are unified as a couple going forward.
I love that. And your step 1 and step 2 brought me back to premarital counseling with my husband many years ago. And the pastor had said to us as he sat us down, he's like, your partner is not the enemy. Like, I want you to remember that. And I'm like, and that's rang true in my mind through the years. In those moments, it's like, okay, he's not the enemy. We need to, work this through, figure it out, and get on the same page again. So I love that.
Amen.
One thing I'll say too is along those same lines is we'll often kind of say like a mantra to ourselves of like, we're on the same team. So if there's ever a point, this helps in diffusing the defensiveness, because whenever there is a little bit of conflict, it's just a helpful reminder that your partner is not the enemy, and that generally we want the same goal. We just may be approaching it from 2 different ways or 2 different perspectives. So just reminding us, and sometimes actually verbally saying out loud to each other, like, hey, remember, we're on the same team. We want the same goal. It's not who's right, it's what's right.
Absolutely. So for people that are listening and they're like in love with you guys, how do they find you online? Like, how do you actually help people?
Yeah. So I would say a really good way to connect with us is through our Instagram. So we have at Couplepreneurs is our Instagram handle. We also have a free Facebook group that's designed specifically for entrepreneur couples. So to our knowledge, it is the largest community and online group of other entrepreneur couples in the world, and it's quickly growing. So it's called Successful Couples in Business. So if you just search in the Facebook search bar, Successful Couples in Business, you should see our faces pop up in the groups, and you can click the link to join the group, and we'd love to have you there.
Yeah, and then beyond that, we do have coaching programs for entrepreneur couples specifically. So specifically couples who are in business together, and we also have couples that own separate businesses.
Because we've been in both positions.
100%. If you have a 6-figure business and you're looking to rapidly scale and you want to do so in a way that doesn't sacrifice your intimacy or your faith or your values in the process, then you would be potentially an ideal client to work with us. All you have to do is just reach out to us. You could just reach out to us honestly on Instagram. We do have a strict criteria, the type of couples that we do work with. So just everyone know that just if you reach out, it doesn't guarantee we'll take you on as a client. But you're welcome to see some of the results we've gotten other couples who have done, $300,000 months, $1 million months, et cetera, in our coaching programs. And, if we're a good fit to work together, we can always book a call together.
Yeah.
I love that. And you guys have accomplished so much, but how do you define success? What does that look like for you?
Want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it. I'll go first.
Yeah, go.
Not to be cliche, but I would say I would define success in a very holistic manner. So specifically, do you feel like you are fully maximized and fulfilled in all the different arenas of life? I think a lot of people focus on the fulfillment aspect, and I think that's extremely important. But I think what actually leads to fulfillment is feeling like we're fully maximized in our purpose, we're fully maximizing the gifts that we have. So are you fully maximized and fulfilled in the different arenas, be it your relationships, be it your business, your finances, your health, as well as just the passions and the other things that you care about outside of business, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you said that. And just
Did I steal your answer?
no, well, I have a similar answer, but from a different frame.
Go for it.
So I would say that the definition of success for me is to discover God's purpose for my life and to live it out. I do believe that, as people of faith, I don't believe that we came from nothing. I do believe that, I was created for a purpose, that God knew me in my mother's womb. He designed me with specific gifts and personalities and proclivities that all lead to fulfilling a purpose to serve others and glorify him. And I can tell you that, even when we were younger and we made more money than ever before, we realized very quickly, like, okay, money is not like the ultimate, cure to success by any means. I'm also not saying it's not important, because it's very important. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if I am doing what I believe God created me to do, and I am maximizing the gifts that he gave me in service to other people and pointing back to him, and pointing back to having a relationship with him through Jesus Christ, who, I believe is our Lord and Savior. That to me is not only temporarily fulfilling, it's eternally fulfilling.
100%. I absolutely love that and couldn't agree more.
All right.
And if you guys had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, what would you tell them?
I'm going to let you start.
I probably would say what I just said, to be honest with you. I probably would say, hey, maybe if you have 5 minutes, just take what I just said and like put it on loop, so it really sinks. Because to be honest with you, I'll say something else too on top of this. I think that every single one of us has the opportunity to set the example that we wish we would have had when we were younger. And what I mean by that specifically is, if we grew up in a household where maybe we had great parents, but they fell short in some other ways, aka they're human.
Yeah.
There might have been some ways that we didn't necessarily see modeled to us that were helpful or healthy. But what we don't want to do is let that put us in a victim mindset. Instead, what if that actually gave us the gifts that we have, the personalities and motivations and skill sets we have, in order to reverse that trend, to set a positive example for other people, and to actually change the, macro level inputs of society right now that are dictating the behaviors of people. So I'm a big believer that inputs create outputs. And, if you look at what is predominantly put out into the world with media and music and even in our world, in the social media world, all that, I'm not saying all of it's bad, but I'm also I'm also very cautious about what the younger generation is seeing when they're getting onto social media. So I believe that all of us, especially us influencers, us successful business owners, we have a platform, we have a purpose and a responsibility to be the positive role models that we want to set for the younger generation. There you go. That's what I was saying.
Mic drop moment.
I know. I'm like, I'm going to build off of yours slightly.
Okay.
And just say that I think the life that you have is a product of the inputs that you just said and the intention that you have. So I think that's basically, if you look around at every area of your life, it's a product of the inputs, meaning you are exposed to different experiences, inputs, people around you, relationships, all these things that influence your decisions, your actions, and what you create in the world. But it also comes down to the level of intention that you have in all those different areas for you to create what you actually want and not just be a product of those inputs. So if I were just to simply say it, it would be the life you have is a product of the inputs and the intention that you have.
Perfect. I love that. And on that note, can you guys recap, where can people find you again online?
Yeah. So at Couplepreneurs is our Instagram handle, as well as the Successful Couples in Business Facebook group. If you search that in Facebook, we should pop up.
Yeah, and we have a free gift too for anybody listening. And that free gift is a quarterly planning template. So if you and your significant other want to come together and get very clear on your goals and your schedule and the habits required to make your dreams a reality
Yeah.
for the upcoming quarter, just reach out to us on Instagram, just type the word template and shoot that over to us, and we will give that over to you for free.
Perfect. Thank you guys. I really, really appreciate that. And the audience will
Of
love it.
course.
Awesome. Well,
Awesome.
thank you for being on today. This was a blast chatting with you as always.
Yeah.
Awesome, Julie. Thank you. We appreciate the time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And for those, if you found value in this episode, please do share it. That's how people find us. And you can find me at sevenfigurebuilder.com. And I'll see you on the next episode.